What's the secret ingredient that connects a winning sports team to a successful company? It's a word we hear all the time, but what does it really mean? Well, today on The Explainer, we're going to break down management. So to really wrap our heads around this, let's start with a bit of a puzzle. I want you to think about what connects some very different but very successful groups of people. Think about it for a second. You've got a championship-winning sports team, a Fortune 500 company, and a top-tier university. On the surface, they're doing completely different things, right? But the ones that succeed, the ones that really thrive, they all share one secret ingredient. Any guesses what it could be? The answer is actually pretty simple, but it's the engine behind almost every single successful group effort. The common thread is effective management. It's this invisible force that somehow turns chaos into real achievement. Okay, so if management is the secret sauce, what exactly is it? I mean, it's got to be more than just being the boss, right? Let's get right down to the core of what we're talking about. To get a really solid foundation, we can actually go back over 100 years to this industrial pioneer, Henri Fayol. Now, he saw management not as some title, but as a series of actions. You forecast, you plan, you organize, and you control. And this idea is so powerful because it frames management as a proactive process, not just some passive role you sit in. And if we take Fayol's ideas and mix them with more modern theories, we basically get this essential four-step playbook. It's a loop. First, you plan, figure out your objective. Then you organize the resources you need to get there. Next, you direct the people involved. And finally, you control the outcome, making adjustments as you go. This cycle is the engine for getting pretty much anything done. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Management isn't just one single thing. We can actually look at it from a few different angles, kind of like different faces of the same idea. So first, you can think of it as an activity. This is the hands-on, practical side of things, the art of getting stuff done. But the key here is that it's done through the efforts of other people. It's all about coordinating a team to hit a common goal. Then, we can look at it as a process. This view really highlights that management isn't just a single event. It's a non-stop cycle. Think about it like steering a ship. You're always checking the map, adjusting for the wind, and keeping your eyes on the horizon. It never really ends. And finally, you can think of management as the people themselves. Yeah, the actual group, from the CEO in the corner office all the way down to the frontline supervisor, who are responsible for guiding the whole organization. They're the team that's actually running the process. This really shows management's role as the ultimate integrator. Imagine a conductor leading an orchestra. You've got all these different instruments, the people, the money, the materials, the machinery. Well, management is the force that brings them all together to create a beautiful symphony instead of just a bunch of noise. It's what turns all those separate pieces into a valuable, coordinated result. Okay, so it doesn't matter which way you look at it or what field you're in. Management has this fundamental nature, this core DNA that stays the same no matter what. So let's break down that DNA. First, it's always goal-oriented. It exists for a reason, to achieve something specific. Second, it's universal. From a family planning a road trip to an army planning a mission, every organized group needs it. Third, it's a social process. It's all about people working with people, for people. And finally, it's intangible. You can't touch management, but you can definitely feel its presence when an operation is running smoothly. This brings us to a classic debate. Is management a science or is it an art? Well, the science part is all the systematic knowledge, the principles and the frameworks. But the art is in how you apply it, the creativity, the personal skill, the intuition. Honestly, it's both. Think of it this way. Knowing the principles of cooking, that's the science. But being a great chef, now that is an art. You absolutely need both to succeed. So why does any of this matter? Well, the real importance of management becomes crystal clear when you see what it's trying to accomplish. It's a constant, high-stakes balancing act between three different and sometimes competing objectives. A truly great manager has to serve three masters all at once. They've got to meet the organizational objectives, things like profit and growth. At the same time, they have to meet the personal objectives of their employees. We're talking fair pay, opportunities to grow, and on top of all that, they have to meet their social objectives, like being ethical and providing quality goods. See, great management isn't about picking one, it's about finding that sweet spot, that harmony between all three. So here's the biggest takeaway I want you to leave with. Management isn't just for CEOs. It's a universal skill for turning any plan into a reality, whether it's in your career, your community, or even your own personal life. It's the art and the science of getting things done, which, of course, leaves us with one last question for you to think about. What's one thing in your life that a little more management could probably improve?